everyone, Dr. Amna Husain here, board certified pediatrician, board certified lactation consultant, and mama. We're going to be doing another edition of Q&A on starting solids. So first up, is it okay if my baby only spoon feeds? This is the only way my baby eats. So I'm assuming that this is puree feeding, and I'm assuming that you're worried your baby is not doing baby-led weaning or not bringing the food to their mouth themselves. Rest assured, this is okay. You're talking to somebody who thinks that puree feeding is not the end of the world. I actually think it can have a lot of great pros and benefits. There are, of course, setbacks, but baby-led weaning also has setbacks as well. If you do have specific questions on this, I'm going to link my older video on puree feeding, baby-led weaning, basically an intro to starting solids. You can check it out here. But generally, is it a bad thing if your baby's only being spoon-fed? No. Usually by 8 to 9 months of age, I do recommend allowing your child to self-feed in addition. So it's totally okay if you wanted to, for example, spoon feed yogurt for a snack and then allow them to self-feed maybe some squashed blueberries or little pieces of raspberries. Totally okay. I think that's a great idea. They may not be great at being able to feed themselves with a spoon, and they may not obviously get full off of just a few blueberries or raspberries on their own, but you can absolutely do a combo. That's actually what I do right now in my house with my 7-month-old. What about this question? When does baby start to eat 3 times a day? So this can be really variable. It can actually vary quite a bit. So my little one is 7 months old and she's eating solids somewhere around 3 to 4 times a day. She loves them. She's doing really well, but we did not start when we started solids somewhere around, I think she was 4 months and 2 weeks or maybe 1 week old. Maybe 3 weeks old. I can't remember even anymore. But we were definitely not doing 3 times a day at that time. We were just doing once a day. And when she did well with that, about 2 weeks later, I increased it. And then about 2 weeks later, I increased it again. And it was just kind of, I watched her cues. I saw how she handled it. I saw she was interested in it. And also it worked well for our schedule. And I wasn't feeling super overwhelmed. So I added in another meal. And now it's just almost seamless. She does really well with it, and that's actually how I recommend parents start to increase their feeding frequency. See what you can tolerate, see what baby's tolerating. If baby has an appetite and baby's taking maybe less in the bottle and still showing hunger after maybe a bottle, then you can absolutely start incorporating some more solid meals and potentially continuing to add in water as well so that they're hitting their hydration goals. What about this question about how to make purees? Okay, so I'm somebody who loves to cook. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen some of my stories that I pretty much cook dinner almost every night or have some kind of plan. We don't eat out a ton. And again, this links back to one of my older Q&A videos where I discussed that we do watch our sodium intake in our house. I'm a daughter of a nephrologist, so we do home cooked meals a lot. So how do I go about purees? Well, first thing I always talk to my families is there's a great way that you can actually do baby-led weaning or purees. And start off with what you'd like to cook for your own house. So for example, this weekend, it's a snowy weekend in New Jersey, so I made chicken noodle soup. In the chicken noodle soup, there was onions, carrots, celery, there was obviously chicken, and there was obviously noodles. So we actually did a shortcut pasta. I did a whole wheat orzo, and I made it in the Instapot. Everything was very soft, very mashable, and I shared it on my Instagram stories that I could actually mash and squeeze the carrot between my fingers. So if baby chose to sort of self-feed herself, which she's not doing really good with right now, she could absolutely kind of gum that in her mouth and swallow it down. And she has no teeth. I did start with small bites, and I saw that she was doing really, really well. A shortcut pasta helped as well because I think she would probably struggle a little bit with the longer strands or maybe even, egg noodles. Some are those really wider noodles. So that's why I did a shortcut orzo. Easy way to make that into a puree, just take some of that soup and puree it. In the beginning, you might want to make them a little looser so that they're a little easier for baby to kind of swallow down. And then as they get a little better, you can start to thicken it up. I sort of kind of akin it to like applesauce and make the applesauce a little runnier at first. And then imagine cooking the applesauce down and you start to concentrate it and make it a little thicker. So you want to start then slowly moving toward that texture. And then as time goes on, you can even start to thicken it a little bit more. So maybe just pulse it and not puree it completely. Still keeping some softer chunks. And then again, around 8-9 months of age, even if you're puree feeding, I do recommend starting to add in some self-feeding. So you can either allow them to self-feed with bits of the pureed food that you just put in the blender. So for example, I might have saved some of the carrots and celery and some of the chicken and allowed her to self-feed. Or you can absolutely self-feed with something else, like small pieces of fruit, raspberry, smushed blueberries, steamed apples, something like that. So I think this is a great question. As a society, we fixate a lot on protein amounts, and that comes probably from a little bit of extrapolation of our adult diet. The plate often centers around a large portion of protein, or even just thinking about high protein diets and how they're good for you, or low carb diets and why they're good for you. I have seen a lot of parents extrapolate that and try to put it onto children as well. And rest assured that children's diets are not the same way. I'll give the disclaimer that I'm not a registered dietitian, but this is commonly things that I tell my families. So when it comes to children, most of their intake is going to be carbohydrates, closer to 60 to 75%. Protein sources are still there, but don't expect them to have a whole meal surrounded by protein. In fact, our plate shouldn't be like that either. But when you're feeding your child a protein amount, don't necessarily look at the back of, let's say, a jar of peanut butter and expect them to eat a tablespoon of it or 2 tablespoons of it. That's not the way it works. Or expect them to eat just as much cheese or just as much chicken as you. I usually say about an ounce, especially if you're looking at a baby less than 1 year of age, even an ounce is a good amount. And usually I do try to make sure that they're not eating too much protein, because again, that can be constipating for a child. Make sure you're still fitting in a good amount of fruits and vegetables along with hydration to make sure that you're keeping their stools nice and soft. Okay, I hope that helps. If you do have any questions on starting solids, make sure you ask them below. Give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful, and make sure you tune in for more. Bye.